regardless of who we are, regardless of our race. Because of time, we really want to get into quick questions and then throw it open to the panel as well. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, let me quickly just ask you, Lara, please. You said a lot. You span across connecting, how you built your business, loads of companies involved, loads of products. I want to just ask you, what's your biggest lesson that you learned over the years building connections in order to expand your business?
Is this on? I did think about this earlier, and then I'm thinking, it's just a ridiculous question. You cannot, the lessons are relentless.
Yeah.
Right? So I think maybe the most important thing is listen, which I'm rubbish at, of course. So I have to practice that too. But I think if you learn the lesson of listening and really listening with heart, then you will gain a great deal more about how you can succeed, because you should never sell something you don't believe in.
All right, thank you for that. Quick and sharp and brief. Yetinde yourself, you have an academy that's for women across the world, Black women, all right? In building connections and getting people to enroll in your program, how have you incorporated building trust, both for clients and partners as well?
Well, the first thing is to demonstrate that you've got integrity, because integrity is one of the simplest things to demonstrate and also one of the easiest things to break. So do what you say and say what you're going to do. Let there be clarity. Let your agreement speak for itself. It's very simple. And once you do that consistently, it doesn't matter whether you're dealing with people in the US, in China, in Japan, in the UK, in Germany, they're on side with you.
Absolutely. Integrity is very important, and I agree with you on that. But it's not easy. A lot of people are thinking about extending their business, moving it across borders, because, you know, it's time to expand. It's time to take it to the next level. And there are different opportunities. I do remember, actually, a few years ago, even in the coaching profession, I had a coach. If you're a coach, you need to have a coach as well, based in Canada. And my coach said, and I was grumbling about the economy and how things were really getting so bad. And the next thing he said to me was, but why are you limiting yourself to your locality? Why don't you spread and go global? My first thought was, how? I have no idea how to do that. But guess what? The pandemic came. And we were locked down, weren't we? And that changed the face of coaching. Is anyone a coach in the house here? Yes. So we moved from face-to-face to virtual, and that opened a whole new level. And that was taking the business of coaching across borders. And I must say today, I coach around the world to people I never thought I would ever have access to globally, and honestly, with all sorts of cultures. And I'm very happy to be able to say that even things that I have done in the past with some of them, I have fantastic relationships with them today. And what am I trying to say here? Building your business, making connections is either circumstantial, intentional, or your desire to grow. Do we agree? All right, thank you so much. You're the global person, Lara. Culture. How did you factor culture into your business when you're building these connections across the borders?
So I'm a great believer that when you go to someone's country, it is their country you're visiting, and you should respect that from the outset. So, and British people, in my opinion, have forgotten to pack humility. I have a real beef about it. I'm lucky enough to have grown abroad and learned abroad and traveled. And if you pack humility and interest, and you always show interest in the other person, it's about putting that person and being genuine and authentic around it. Imagine a 23-year-old kid. The only reason I actually used to travel through Dubai, which I ended up becoming, the Middle East became a really big market, was actually I needed a boyfriend. And true story, I used to go out to China to source goods, and on the way back, if I went to Dubai and I sold something, I would allow myself a lunchtime of sunbathing. And then when I got back to England, in its hockey season, I had a tan, I looked good, I was more likely to pull. It's not much of a strategy, but it worked for me.
All right.
Seriously. So actually, it does make a point. There is a point, right? Which is, whatever you do, you can't do this single-handedly. I am actually married to the best-looking man alive, so you can't have him. And it's nearly 30 years, which is my greatest triumph, if he's patient enough.
Wow.
And he's doing well. But my point is, you need support along the way, right? So you pack your humility, you have your team behind you, you put your shoulders back and fake it till you make it, like I said earlier. Right? But turning up, you make stuff happen. I'm really passionate about that.
Thank you so much for that. And quick last question for you, Yetunde, as well. A lot of people are wondering, they want to extend, they want to take their business across the borders, they want to build connections. How have you used social media, leveraging on technology, to expand your business?
Well, my business is one about relationships. It's all relationships. And social media is a great aid. But the key thing is you've got to make sure that whatever platform you're on, that you're happy for whatever you write to be read to your grandmother, and also whatever you write, you're happy for it to be written and read out in a tribunal or in court. So if it passes those two criteria, anything and everything goes, including leaders and ladies, the photographs you might post. So important now. So the way that I use social media is about my brand. My tenets are love, leadership, results. So everything I post are about that. And I reach people in the US, in China, all across Europe. People connect. Not everybody, but the person who connects with what you have to offer and why will reach out to you. You also use, LinkedIn is a great platform. If you're not on LinkedIn, my advice is you please use LinkedIn as much as possible. If nothing else, if you do nothing else, LinkedIn.
Thank you so much for that. Wow. Can we just have 2 quick questions from the audience? Please, yes, sir. Yes, please come forward.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Paul Fo. I've got a question for Lara. Fascinating conversation. Of the 200 sales calls you were making before coffee time, what was your conversion rate? That's one. Secondly, I really like what you did at the end of your speech with the call to action, with the code and connected to Centered, because we're all going to give your email list, our emails. That's fascinating call to action. I must applaud you for that. But what was your conversion rate?
So conversion rate, at 23, I didn't even know what a conversion rate was. So it probably gives everybody hope in the room that you can be clueless, but trying, right? But if you think about it, I guess the story about Forte Hotel underpins persistence and politeness and that enterprise determination. And I got so much wrong. Had I targeted better, had I thought more in it, I mean, I was, until, I think it is very relevant, it's slightly longer answer than I'd like, but 9 years in, we were making £664,000 profit a year. I then went on a business course called the Business Growth Program at Cranfield. 8 years later, we were making £3.3 million profit. So keep educating. That's how you improve your conversion rate.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I really do like that. Absolutely. Keep educating. More questions, please. Yes, please.
Good morning, all. Good morning to panelists. Thank you for your time this morning, time well spent. Laura, the question's for you again. When you spoke, you told us you saw a business you'd grown from the ground up 20-something odd years later. And first question is, how best can you advise, especially budding entrepreneurs, of when to make that decision, when to make that call, when to know how to help with? This is the tipping point. It's time to say. Looking at the type of business as we have now, age of AI, segmentation, branding, ideation being different. Do you think it's better got more if you had gotten a business today as a young'un versus then when you did? Do you think with tech you could have achieved more? And would you have possibly sold for more as well?
So in reverse order, I don't think you can answer the second question because we don't know how fast things are changing. And I suspect many of the same rules apply about authenticity, humility, and determination, and bloody hard work, and numerous other things, right? On the first one, in terms of exit, I worked my arse off for 17 years with everything at risk. And we went through September the 11th, where I had to put up my house as collateral. I'd never taken a dividend in the business at that point. We were 12 years in. I had 2 small children. I was pregnant with the third. So I actually failed to exit in 2004, but I learned a great deal from failing to exit. And the only reason I was planning to exit, it was security for my children. So that was my driver. I was very lucky, disconnected, longer story, that I didn't exit then, and I exited 4 years later. And that was a more considered decision about, I had a private office at Four Seasons Hotel that they paid for. I was the #1 global provider in my industry. I had brand licenses and was manufacturing for Bulgari, Penhaligon's, Asprey, Emenagildo, Zen. I was kind of getting bored of what I was doing. And if you can't be 100% passionate, change it. So now I invest in wellness companies, and I feel really privileged that I can take some of that experience, and actually I have a bigger ambition now that I have a tiny bit of knowledge. I could become quite dangerous potentially and do something meaningful and lasting about purpose, which is what my brand centered is about. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Yes, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tim Tokwe, and I have 2 questions, one for Lara and one for Yetunde. My question for you, Lara, is considering from a seller's perspective, it actually makes sense to get your finance before you send the goods. But considering from a buyer's perspective, there is, what if it is not fit for purpose, quality control? So did you ever consider letters of credit or any other legal forms of payment to secure your transaction?
So a letter of credit secured by a bank, yes. I think there's a bank in the room, maybe go and get some advice, but at no other point, because I once had to go and collect some money in Oman, and I sat in a finance office and I said to the guy, I am genuinely going to scream to the rooftops unless you give me my money. And it's not a comfortable thing to do, genuinely. Slightly crazy. But it was my money. So genuinely, you can't, if the product that you are selling in an export market is valued and sold appropriately, sampled, signed off, and the customer wants it, they'll pay because they can see an upside profit margin. If not, it's fool's gold.
Thank you very much. And Yetunde, you said that the most important thing, you're a service provider, and I'm a service provider myself, and I know that it's all about integrity to actually get the first step. But how do I meet someone now? I'm hoping to do business with this person. How do I show the person that I actually have enough integrity for them to trust me within that short period of time, or via an email or phone call or whatever means I am trying to actually make connection with this person?
One of the best ways is through referral. It's being clear on your page. So anybody here will know somebody that will need your service. So the key thing is to say, when you meet the person, you want to know them, of course, demonstrate interest, curiosity, talk about yourself, but be interested in them. And listening is not to be heard, it's so that the person knows you've understood them. So it's from their perspective. And then you say what it is you do, and then you ask the question, who do you know? Not can you tell me, who do you know? And once they tell you who they know, you can say, I'd love an introduction. Off you go.
Thank you very much.
All right. All right, we have another one. Okay. One more question. We're wrapping up very soon. Yes, please. And then I think we just have two questions. Yeah? I think they're finding the topic engaging.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Yetunde, the question is for you. You spoke a lot about strategies around different things. Is it possible you give us some strategy on how you identify and optimize your superpowers? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, the first thing is you've got to look at what you love to do. Not necessarily what you're great at, but what you love. Point one. The second point is, what are you great at? Because I know I'm great at developing people. But I don't necessarily love, even though I'm also good at it, dealing with trade unions and employee relations. I don't. So you want to look at what you're great at, as well as what you love. And then you leverage that. One, if you're not sure, ask those 4 or 5 people that you really trust, and you ask them, when have you seen me at my best? What was I doing? What did I say? And wait for this. And how did you feel? That will tell you your strengths. So when you combine those, you write them down, then you journal. At the end of each week, remember, when was I at my greatest? When was I at my best? Which strength did I leverage? That reminds you. Then you start to build the bank of your superpowers, and you can leverage that. And that will have you stand out.
Thank you so much for that. Okay, I think if they can just quickly allow us, you're the last person to have a question. I just don't want to leave you out because we have to wrap up now. Thank you so much.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kemi, and I'm a social worker by profession, a social worker with adults. So this question, I have one for Lara and one for you today. So I just want you to look at your 23 years old self and think of someone with, I usually advocate for people with disability. So think of someone with a hidden disability or even physical disability and actually trying to get into that area you were trying to break into. What would you tell such a lady?
So I had never lived in England until I was 23. And I'm lucky enough to have had an education in Scotland, experience internationally. So I had built some skills or some knowledge, right? And I'd had some sales jobs. And by trade, I am a salesperson. That's my spice, for want of a better description. And I'd say find the thing you love doing, exactly as you've said, and ask for help, because help will always accelerate you. I've never had somebody go, I'm not going to help you. It just doesn't exist, right? And by the way, if it did exist, they're the wrong person. They can sod off. But I would say everybody has disabilities, right? I've got a deeply dyslexic daughter, so she's chasing the passion of creativity. I've got, we've all got disabilities. They may be transparent, they may be physical, they may be, but I would say persistence and get help, and then do exactly what you're doing, which is find out what you love to do, because we stick at the stuff we love doing, right? We do.
Thank you. And yet today, I know you talk of coaching and leadership, but actually, how would you advise someone, either a young adult, an adult with disabilities, either learning disabilities, physical or hidden, how would you advise such a person to access those facilities and actually be able to break through the barriers of actually getting to a leadership position? And bearing in mind that even here, there are lots of tools in place, but even many are still lip token service. So how does such, and not to talk of getting into global, speaking globally now, there are different levels at which each country has support for people with disabilities. So how would you advise such a person?
Thank you. First of all, it depends on the disabilities. What do I mean by that? A lot of people, and particularly women with physical disabilities, find themselves at the very bottom of the food chain. And if you're black and female and have a disability, it's terrible. And Nigeria is also one of the countries that doesn't pay attention to people with disabilities. And we live in a country that's such as well, in the UK. So what I do say to young people with disabilities, first of all, not every disability is visual. And what you have inside of you can sometimes help you. So I am a recovering breast cancer survivor. And my confidence was so low, but I take my fan everywhere with me now because I use it as a side effect of the drugs I take. That's one thing. You have to believe in yourself, no matter what disability you have. Secondly, ask for help. What is happening now with the awareness with women leaders like this and all the leaders, it is going up. The fact that you've asked this question, there will be a handful of people that will say, how can I help you? Somebody knows somebody. We've got to ask. But for each young person that I talk to and I mentor, and I do speak in schools as well, you've got to believe in yourself. And in your disability, you have something to offer. Let's find that and let's have it flourish. So you're doing a great job, and thank you for asking the question.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Lara and Yetunde, tying this all together. I'm so sorry, we don't have any more time for questions. Thank you. All right, tying this all together, just a moment. So, ladies and gentlemen, where are you with your business? Are you still local? What are you doing about building connections? Everything that Lara and Yetunde spoke to is really about building connections, identifying you, and really recognizing where you want to be. So I say, in reflection, it's not always about the money when we're talking about building connections, expanding our shores. It's not always about the immediate financial gains. Why are we here? A few people asked me, WIMBI's conference in London? What is it all about? They saw the flyer, they saw the topic, they saw the title. They still ask, so why are we here? You're here to build connections wherever you are in the world, virtually and physically, for personal development, professional growth, business development. And so I must say, for all the reasons in the world, for health and well-being, for, you name it, for many reasons, seek to connect with purpose. Mix, mingle, navigate, and enjoy the journey as you're going along. As you can see, Lara and Yetunde are enjoying the journey. Learn from others, insights, experiences, exposure, challenges, tips. I would say to you, be visible, be available, be accountable. And so therefore, cultivate trust in this journey of building connections, collaborate safely, and connect competently. Thank you all for listening.